Hello, everyone. It's so wonderful to be with you all this evening, even if it's remotely. I'm filming this in Los Angeles, California, where we are mostly on a shutdown. I think you guys are more opened up than we are. I wish I could be with you in person, but it's great to get to deliver this message to you even from afar. It's an honor for me because of the incredibly important work that you are supporting. My name is Lila Rose. I am the head and founder, the president and founder of Live Action. Some of you may have heard of us. We are one of the largest pro-life organizations globally, educating millions of people. We reach about 2 million people every single day with the truth about abortion, the evil of abortion, the facts about abortion, as well as the dignity and beauty of human life. We especially educate young people. So most of our audience and our fastest growing audience is young people, Generation Z, millennials. And we do this because we believe that if we can educate, if we can show the reality of abortion, we can turn millions of people against it. And that's what we actually see. And we have the opportunity to actually mobilize thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of people to call for certain political actions and policies like the ending of abortion through laws, actually making abortion illegal in certain states, as well as the defunding of the abortion industry. So this work is obviously important. It's what I've been fighting in since I was 15 years old. I started Live Action then because I had my first experience of realizing as a young girl what abortion was. And I think many of you listening have had a moment like that where you suddenly saw or suddenly realized that we are living in a country where it is legal in a clinic, like a hospital building or a medical clinic, sometimes just miles from our homes where we're raising our children or where we are living. And it is legal for a woman to walk in and a doctor, in the name of medicine, to destroy, to dismember, to suction into pieces, to poison to death that newly forming human life, and that this is expressly permitted by our laws, and that there is no police, there is nobody there to intervene, and that these children are killed by the thousands each day. Truly, this is the greatest human rights issue of our day. Imagine if this was happening, but there were 2-year-olds being taken to killing centers in our communities. Imagine the uproar that it would inspire, that it should inspire. Yet a child just a couple years younger than a toddler, a child in the womb, is just as human and just as precious and just as loved and deserves just as much protection. So that's why we're all here, because we know that, and because we know that part of the way to solve this crisis that we're facing is to love them both, is to provide care for both mother and child so that no woman feels that she is alone, that she doesn't have the support that she needs, and so that every child has the health care and the love that he or she needs as well. So what I want to share in the next few minutes is some of the history of how I even heard about Divine Mercy Care, this incredible ministry that you are now gathered together to support, my kind of experience meeting Dr. Brukowski, and why this is so important, especially in the context of the larger cultural battles that we're fighting and the larger pro-life movement, why the work you are doing is groundbreaking and it is trailblazing. And it is absolutely what is needed today, and it needs to expand. It needs to be supported more than ever. So first off, I met Dr. Brukowski. I'm pretty sure I was in my late teens. I might have been 20 or 21, but I was in DC, probably for a speaking event. I actually ended up moving to DC right after college. I went to UCLA, and so a Los Angeles girl ended up in what I found the frigid winters of the East Coast. But I remember meeting Dr. Brukowski and just being so impressed upon learning his story, that here was someone who was part of the very industry that we were fighting, the abortion industry that was part of these practices of death, who had completely been transformed through his choice for the good, through God's grace, completely transformed into this force for good. And not just good in the sense, I'm gonna stand up and stand up to abortion, which is crucial, but holistically good. The power of Tepeyac, the power of the care and the medical care that you provide, is it sees the whole person. It sees the whole woman. And look, I've been in the pro-life movement, like I said, about 15 years now. I've traveled the country, I've traveled the globe. I've spoken to a lot of pregnancy care resources, resource leaders, and so many well-intentioned, doing really important work. But to understand the connections between a woman's body, her fertility, to recognize that when sex has a purpose, that it has a design, and when we violate that design, we create problems for everyone. We create problems between the man and the woman. We create problems where now all of a sudden, if we think contraception is a good thing and we should just contracept and not have to have children when we have sex, if children are separate from sex, then if you get an unexpected pregnancy, all of a sudden abortion becomes a temptation. When we realize that abortion happens because we first have a problem with how we view women's bodies and our fertility, and we have a mistake in how we see sex, when we acknowledge that and work actively to heal that problem, which is what Tepeyac does by rejecting reproductive technologies that are against the powerful design that God has of sex being for unitive and procreative, so it makes sure to work with God's design instead of against it, rejects contraception. I mean, there are still, unfortunately, those active in our fight, anti-abortion fight, who still think contraception is a solution. And so to see Dr. Bukowski, this force for good, wholly embracing the good, even when it's controversial, even when it's difficult, even when there are virtually no other doctors. In some communities, there's no other doctors who will refuse to provide contraception. I'm in Los Angeles. When we were looking for an OBGYN in LA, there was one doctor here who was holistically pro-life in a city of millions upon millions of people. But what a shining light that doctor can be to set an example that this is how medicine should be done, that this is what's best to care for both mother and for baby. So it was very inspiring for me. I was actually a new Catholic when I met. I was either just becoming Catholic, I don't remember the exact time, but I was either just becoming Catholic because I became Catholic in college, or it just happened. And to see this huge embrace of everything it means to be Catholic, and that it is not just for Catholics if you were raised that way, or if you've already gone through all the, RCIA, or you already fully understand it, but it's really what is reasonable. I mean, that's the beauty of Catholic teachings on sex and the Catholic teachings on life, is that it's reasonable. It's not some dictate handed down from the heavens that doesn't make sense to the human mind or human heart, but it works with us. And that's the kindness of God, that this is all part of his plan for human flourishing and for us to be empowered and happy and healed as women and as marriages and for our children. So that holistic vision was just very inspiring for me and affirming of my faith, as well as this larger fight for life. Tepeyac, particularly right now, is crucial because during a pandemic, during economic uncertainty, there's that much more temptation and that much more fear that women may have when it comes to pregnancy that seems unexpected or inconvenient. And the abortion industry loves nothing better than fear. Planned Parenthood, abortion clinics, they love fear. They love to prey on fear. They love to use fear as a selling tactic for abortions. And fear, I think, is the number one reason for why women choose abortion. And so to have a place that's providing holistic care, that's providing free prenatal care and free resources to women, that isn't compromising, is all the more important today. When I look at the larger pro-life movement, and again, Live Action does education work, it's really important, I believe in it, that's why we're working hard on that every day. But we see, as I look at the larger landscape of our fight for life in the United States and globally, we can educate all day long. We can even pass pro-life laws, and we can achieve that victory. And we are working towards that with hopefully a new Supreme Court justice and the reversal of Roe v. Wade and the right to life being seen as a constitutional right. It is a constitutional right, but we can do all of that. But if we compromise what medical care actually looks like for mothers and their babies, and if we're not on the front lines providing that care like Tepeyac is doing, then we are not going to win this war. This war, the essential front line for this war is the care for mothers and their children, for families. And that's why I'm extremely proud of what you're doing at Divine Mercy Care. I'm proud of the standard that you set and the standard that this ministry sets and shows other organizations that it's possible throughout the country, setting the certification standard for other nonprofit pregnancy resource care centers to say, This is what holistic pro-life care looks like. It rejects contraception. It rejects reproductive technologies that violate the design, God's plan for sex and the natural design of sex. It rejects, of course, abortion, and showing that model, and a model that's working and it's really serving and benefiting women, its clients, is incredibly powerful and needed. As I've been in this movement, I have seen the temptation to compromise. I have seen it. I've seen even Christian leaders who are pro-life say that contraception is needed. We just need more contraception. We know what has happened with more contraception. 50% of women, according to Planned Parenthood's research arm, the Guttmacher Institute, 50% of women who walk into an abortion clinic to seek an abortion are on a contraceptive method in the month prior when they got pregnant. Contraception only fuels the problem. We know this. We know it's also unhealthy for women's body. We know it also can work as an abortifacient. We know how toxic it is. But that is a very still prophetic message, profound message, and sometimes controversial message to send to the world because they think contraception is necessary for healthcare. So to show that it's not, and that it's actually antithetical to that, and to just practice medicine that rejects that and instead embraces a woman's fertility and embraces a holistic view of women's health care, that is the answer. That is where it's at. That's why I'm proud of what you're doing, and we need to see it grow. I know it's a pandemic. I know that this is a difficult time economically, a difficult time for many people, but now's the time, I think, to lean into our fight for life. Because sometimes when people are feeling that fear and that struggle, yes, they can be preyed upon by the abortion industry. They can go to a Planned Parenthood, but it also can be a moment for outreach. It can be a moment to transform lives, to reach people in their moments of need when they're feeling vulnerable, to help them, to uplift them, and to help connect them to the truth, to give them an opportunity to totally change their life. Dr. Bukowski is a living force of nature that shows how God can change a life, and that's the work that you are doing in providing this care, that you can actually change lives as well as, of course, save lives. So I'm really proud to support you guys. I know Live Action's work to educate is extremely complementary to your work to actually be on the front lines of care and providing that holistic vision. And I want to just encourage you all to be as generous as possible. This is difficult times economically for a lot of people. I recognize that, but I think if we are as generous and sacrificial as possible to pour into the pro-life movement, especially this front line of care that Divine Mercy Care is doing, Tepeyac is doing, I think we will see incredible fruit. And God will bless that trust, and we will see the return on that fruit tenfold, 50-fold, 100-fold. So thank you all so much for your support of the pro-life movement, of this fight for life, of Tepeyac, of Divine Mercy Care. And thank you, Dr. Bukowski, for your trailblazing work, your pioneer work at the board, all of the volunteers, the nurses, the doctors involved. You guys are heroes. You guys are really heroes for me and for the Live Action team. And I really am with you in this. We're in this together. I believe with God's justice and love, the mercies He has to give our nation, where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more, we can turn this around. We can end abortion. We can build a culture of life. And it is built on the incredible work and spirit of exactly what you're doing through Tepeyac and Divine Mercy Care. So thank you all so much, and I hope to see you one day in person and not too far in the future. God bless you all.